Hello. Welcome back to those who are returning from earlier sessions. And now we have our last session of this year's EcoCareers Summit. Last but certainly not least, we're excited to introduce Aoife Shola, who will be leading today's networking workshop. Aoife is a leadership development professional, an associate certified coach by the International Coaching Federation, and a facilitator who has coached and trained over 1,500 leaders across federal government, nonprofit, and private sector organizations. She is the co-founder of Quiver Leadership Network, a global leadership accelerator for Gen Z women with participants across 2 cohorts and 4 countries, and the founder of The Forward Room, a coaching and leadership development experience for leaders ready to own their presence and influence. Committed to fostering talent and opportunity through community, Aoife supports Black Oak Collective to advance environmental careers and serves on the board of Spring NG Inc., championing young African writers. She holds a PMP certification and a BS in integrative neuroscience. We've had a lot of questions throughout the EcoCareers Summit this year about networking, so we're really happy to bring you in to lead this workshop. So you can go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David, for the introduction. I'm also excited to be sharing my thoughts today with you all. And I know that I was telling David earlier that I know I'm the last session between you and dinner or you and getting some rest. So I will try my best to make this as exciting as I can and also to make this as useful for you. So, you go away with something to take home with you, being that you're here and you're still putting in your energy. And I do want to appreciate everyone who's still showing up. I see that numbers are increasing now. So thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for, committing to this experience over the past couple of days and being here. So I have a question for you to start us off. When you hear the word networking, what is the first word or first phrase or whatever comes to mind? What is that thing that comes to mind when you hear the word networking? And I'll give it a moment. LinkedIn. Yes, LinkedIn's a big one. All right. And David here says, yes, you can just add your thoughts and share with everyone in the chat. All right. And if you share it with me also, I will read it out. So LinkedIn, I actually use LinkedIn a lot. And my big use for LinkedIn as well is networking. And I'll be sharing what that looks like as time goes on too. Is there anyone else who wants to share? When you hear about the word networking, what comes to mind? There's some people who, when you hear about the word networking, it's like, "Oh, are we talking about this again? Why are we doing this?" I feel like I've been to so many sessions on networking and everyone seems to have an opinion. I do as well on what networking is. Okay. But what does it mean to you? Some of us love networking. Believe it or not, there are people out there who love the idea of networking. They do it for a living. And there's some of us out there who are still figuring out what exactly is this thing? I know it's something they say we have to do, or something that looks very important, but what exactly is this thing? Do I have to? Is it it's a necessary evil for some people? That's what I'm trying to say. Megan says professional conferences, follow-ups, Rowan. Great, great, great thought. I'm going to talk about that as well. And Tiffany, making friends. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let me move on. So here's you have a scenario in front of you, and you're probably familiar with this scene because it's the end of the conference. Hopefully, not this one, but it's the end of the conference. You have a stack of new contacts on your phone. Your face hurts from smiling, and your brain is fried from saying, "Oh, we should get coffee sometime, or we should meet up downtown sometime." You're promising everyone a connection, and then 6 months later or maybe 12 months later, many of those contacts are still waiting on the follow up that would have turned into something meaningful for you. Okay, does anybody relate with that? If you relate with that, just say yes in the chat or add a plus one. By the way, as I'm going on in the session today, if there's something that relates, with your experience or connects with you. Okay, I also see the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Many of us relate with that. I also relate with that. Megan, I'm with you on that. I've been to I literally have a stack of business cards. Okay, I know we don't use business cards anymore, but I've been going to events for the past 10 years, and I've kept all sorts of business cards that I've never used one time in my career. It happens. But I have a question here that I want you to think about. You don't have to answer it. If you see me look into the side, I'm looking at my screen here. Um, if networking is so important, why does most of it leave us empty-handed? We actually do the networking. I'm not here to teach you something that you don't already know. Many of you have been networking in your way, one way or the other, throughout today's sessions, throughout the sessions that have happened in the past couple of days. But why is it that it's not working for most of us? I have a couple of answers I'll share with you. And of course, as the session goes on, if you have any questions for me, drop them in the chat. I'll leave some time at the end of today's session to answer your questions. You can also share any additional thoughts that you have. Now, let's do the flip of this. Let's flip this. Think of someone whose career you admire, or someone who's a mentor, and you're like, when I grow up, I want to be like you, or maybe a place you want to be in your career. And you can just keep that in mind. Could be someone you know, could be someone you don't know, could be someone you've just heard speak. Just speak someone in mind. Three things are certainly true about those people. The first one is they didn't get wherever they are alone. Okay, there's no self-made anything out there. People are who they are because they have other people helping them out, other people buying from them, other people introducing them to other people giving them advice, other people supporting them when it gets hard, and so on and so forth. There's a network of people behind them that open doors for them. And that's certainly something that I've experienced in my career as well. Most of the jobs that I've entered into, I think my job with Black Oak is the only one I actually applied to randomly online and I got. But every other job has been a result of someone saying, hey, there's an opening here. Would you like to apply? Or someone writing a recommendation for me, or someone making an introduction, and so on and so forth. Okay. We don't accomplish our goals alone. We are not islands. We are people who need other people to help us to get to where we want to get to. The second point here is most of those people were not strangers. They're people that that person you have in mind had built trust with, sometimes over the years, sometimes it's just one single honest conversation. And the point I'll make here also too is that start to think about your weak connections. I was listening to something on my way here, well, on my way home. I'm sharing here from my home, but I was listening on my way home, just thoughts on networking, trying to see if there are other ideas I could share with you. And someone had made the point, I forget whose name it is right now, that your best networking assets actually lie in your weak connections. What do I mean? These are people you went to high school with, hopefully people who were kind to you in high school, friends you haven't spoken to in a while, people you met at a conference and perhaps you still remember their names and their faces, people you've worked with in the past 10 years, but you haven't connected with in the past 10 years. Those are your weak connections. You're still somewhat connected to them. They still know you, you still know them, but you're not in each other's lives. That is opposite your strong connections, which are your friends, your family members. And they said your best networking assets lie in your weak connections. And what they meant was your friends, your family members, your closest, allies, if you will, already know the same things you know. Probably, if they are your friends, they're probably already sharing their ideas with you, they're sharing their opportunities with you. So you're not necessarily getting anything new as often as you would from a weak connection. And so, as you think through today's session, as I take you through some of the activities I have with you for you today, don't just think about someone who's close to you, someone you've interacted with in the past 3 months, someone you're close with, a friend, a colleague you work with. Also, think about people you may have forgotten, people you follow online, people you read their LinkedIn posts, people you worked with in the past that you still have a good relationship with, those weak connections that can actually turn into something helpful for you. Okay. And then the third also too is it wasn't completely transactional. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes you go into a relationship because you want something. In that case, it's transactional, right? And if you relate with that as well, you can give me a +1 in the chat. And sometimes you go into relationship for the sake of building a relationship. But for the most part, it's easier. There's again in most of our best relationships, anyways, there's some form of transaction. So I would recognize that. But no one gets to wherever they want to go to by not building something beyond a transaction, then by not depositing something that they could withdraw from that relationship, whether it's trust, whether it's a need they're meeting, whether it's just being there, just building a real relationship with the people in their network as well. So, three things. They didn't get there alone. Most of those people weren't strangers, and it wasn't completely transactional. David has read my bio. In case you're still wondering who I am, I do all sorts of things online, but big one, I'm a networker as well. So many of the thoughts I'm going to be sharing with you today are actually from my own personal life experiences. And so I'm not going to be sharing something that's completely theoretical, but I also want to spotlight Black Oak Collective. It's a networking organization that I recently was the events director for. So something definitely to check out. The mission is to help young Black professionals get into environmental fields too. So check out Black Oak when you have the time. There are opportunities to network and events that go on from time to time as well. Okay, so I'll have you think about this. And if you'd like, you can type it in the chat. If not, that's fine as well. But I found it helpful when people join, sessions I lead to have something in mind that they're trying to take out of the session. One thing is good, three maximum, no more than three things. So one to three things that you're trying to take out of the session. I do like just one thing. Because it just makes life easier. So type in the chat, and if you see this icon on any of the slides, it just means type in the chat. What is one thing that you want today's session to do for you? Whether it's something you want to learn, or maybe something you want to try, or maybe I don't know, you're trying to answer a question, or maybe you came in here with specific networking ideas that you want to validate as well. So type in the chat if you had something in mind, or maybe you just simply wanted to hear me talk. Maybe you're just curious about okay, so let's just hear what they're talking about. It's networking. It sounds like a good session. Let's just go for it. It's fine. But have something in mind because it helps us to make this effective. So Margaret says how to ask better questions from people that I may network with. I like that, Margaret. Keep it coming in the chat while I keep running through my slides here. Megan says learning to view networking as less of a transaction so it feels less intimidating. But really, you're just listening. Okay, I like that. It's okay, Megan. And then networking, Persephone, okay. Networking in a way that feels genuine, motivating yourself to network, rewards in the past felt amorphous. I feel that. I feel that. I feel that. Okay, so let me give you a quick reminder, just a couple of reminders as we go. First of all, try to be engaged as much as possible. You're already engaged. In fact, I don't need to say much about this, but the one thing I do want to encourage you is that since it's the last session, you've probably had a long day. It's okay if you find yourself drifting. If you're eating right now, I don't see you, but why are you eating without inviting me? Okay, why aren't you sharing a meal with me? If you need to grab something, say take a walk, a stretch, just pay attention to your body, pay attention to what your body needs. A cup of water, whatever it needs to stay engaged. I had two scoops of ice cream before this session because I needed a little sugar. Okay. So find what you need to stay as engaged as possible. And if you find yourself drifting or getting distracted, that's absolutely fine. Just bring yourself back to the session. It happens. The second, if something resonates, say yes, say so. If it doesn't resonate as well, you can ask it as a question. Think of application. Again, keep something in mind. The thing we talked about that you want today's session to do for you, keep that in mind as we go. Make sure you don't leave today's session without having your question answered. It's not a good use of my time. It's not a good use of your time if at the end of today's session, the thing you came to today's session with is not fulfilled. Okay, so make sure that you're thinking about how to immediately apply this to your life. You're the expert of your life. I can only share from my experiences and my own research, but you're the one who's to think about Okay, so how does this apply to my own life? And finally, have fun. Okay, believe it or not, networking can be fun. Okay, I found it to be fun in some contexts as well too. So let's try to have a little bit of fun as the session goes by. Now, well, speaking of fun, let me make sure that I'm sharing my computer sound. So I am sharing my computer sound. I have
I
something
want you
quick
to
for
take
you. And please give me a thumbs up if you can hear my sound as I share.
I want you to take every single assignment I give you seriously and do the very best job you can.
Thank you.
Success in life depends on a good education.
Not always.
I beg your pardon?
That's not what my brother says.
What does your brother say?
My brother says it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Let's try it again.
I want you to take every single...
It's who you know.
I see. And who does your brother know?
Nobody. That's why he doesn't have a job.
How many people found that funny? I found that funny the first time I watched it. Uh, Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, Tiffany, it's like does have a joke. That's not anyone at the end of today's session, okay? But you've heard that before. It's not what you know, it's who you know. It's a sad reality. But I do want to share that it's both what you know and who you know as well. Because if you're not without if you're without skill, or if you're not able to meet the challenge of the moment, at some point people are going to find out. And that's not what you want. But again, that's not anyone on today's session. Okay. Thank you for laughing with me. Why does networking matter in environmental careers? You all already know this, so I won't spend so much time. But three things are shaping this field right now. I was telling David earlier that I intentionally put that the field is growing. I know that it's been a challenging couple of months for many organizations that I'm aware of, organizations that have had to scale down their hiring, scale down their programming because of funding and so on and so forth. But there are still opportunities out there. I'm also seeing people still hiring, new organizations starting up, new programming out there. And David was sharing also too on a local perspective as well and a global perspective as well. There are still opportunities. So it's very important too that you're in tune with what's going on. The second one is that this work is mission driven. So people hire and refer based on values rather than just resumes. So when you're interviewing, when you're meeting people, they're looking to connect with you because this is a work that's emotional for some people, for many people, actually. For many people in the environmental world in general, this is mission driven, this is values driven, there's meaning behind the work as well. So it's not just the technical reality of are you the person for the job, it's are you also connected and aligned with what we're trying to do here? And then the third, also, of course, like I mentioned, with everything most organizations are facing right now, roles are competitive. All roles are competitive anyways. Junior roles, especially getting hundreds of applications, and candidates who get hired typically sometimes will have someone vouching for them. I will share with you from my own experience as I've served as a hiring manager in a couple of my roles. And, sometimes you get hundreds of applications, okay? And you're trying to keep the process equitable, make sure it's fair to everyone. But from time to time, I get some help. And by getting some help, I get people who spotlight to me like, hey, that's an application that you want to take a look at because this is someone that I can vouch for. This is someone that I can trust. So it reduces the work on my end if I can say, all right, you have a bank of trust with this person. Now, if this person doesn't turn out to be a good person, I know who to go call. And that helps me out in sorting out the applications. And you've probably experienced it as well where you moved forward in an application process, or you were able to, I don't know, start a business venture, start a nonprofit because of someone who connected you or recommended you. So that's why this is not something that you can ignore. Networking is a very important reality. And of course, you know this, that's why you're here in today's session. But the translation of everything that I said so far is in this field, your network is your career. You only go as far as the network that you've been able to build. And networking looks very different in many different ways. Many of you are doing networking in ways that are non-traditional and don't recognize that you're actually networking, okay? And I'll share some of those with you in a moment too. So don't feel like because you don't know a million people who can give you high paying jobs that are values driven, you don't have a broad network. No, networking looks different, especially with social media, with LinkedIn, and so on and so forth too, and with a new generation of people entering the workforce. We're all building our networks in different ways than people have traditionally done as well too. So don't despair. But keep in mind that this is very important for your career. Now, if you don't take anything away from me today's session, okay, I'm going to be saying a lot of things, and I like I like 1 to 3 as a range. Okay, I'll often tell you try one thing, but no more than 3 things. So as I'm going through today's session, try to keep 1 or 2 or 3 things in mind as your takeaways. Okay, you don't have to take everything away with you, but this is the one thing that I want you to keep in mind out of your 3 things. It could also be your one thing. Networking is trust building. Networking is trust building, and it's made visible across different stages. And we'll talk about what trust looks like. Some of you said you started speaking to this in the chat. In fact, the big idea from the chat I can see is, how do I build networking in a way that shows me as someone who's authentic, that shows my authentic self? How can I build authentic relationships? How can I do this like a normal human being and not be weird? Okay, if that's a question you have in mind, let me know in the chat as well. How can I do this and not be a robot? How can I do this and not seem like I'm just trying to know somebody because of a job that they could potentially give me, where that is really my goal? The real reason why I'm connecting with the person is because they have a job and I need a job, but I'm trying not to make it look that way. So, but the answer, the big answer, the broad answer I have for you on that, for all those questions, is this big word, trust. Networking, building relationships is all about building trust. Okay, let me move on. So I learned this framework from a mentor uh, who, funny enough, we went through this 4 stages. We're calling it the 4 C's of networking. It's the name of the mentor is Dr. Harry Akinola, and I met him through an event, actually. So we went through the 4 stages. We met through an event. I'd already known about him online. We share the same circles. I'm a leadership development coach, trainer. Excuse me. He's also the same. So he shared this framework in a meeting that I was a part of, and I was like, I'm going to steal that, and I'll steal it with attribution. So the 4 C's of networking. The first C is the contact. The first reach out, where you say hello and you learn who someone is. So for many of us today, this is our first C, the contact. You're just knowing my name. Okay, you're figuring out who I am. And trying to make those connections in your brain as to maybe you've seen me before, or maybe I'm doing something that's related to something that you're interested in. That's contact. The second is connect. This is what happens after your introduction, the follow up, the second conversation, where you find out if there's something mutual that you can continue building on. Collaborate is the third one, where you're starting to work actively together, you're sharing opportunities, you're introducing each other to other people, you're being, each other's sounding board. And of course, co-create is the fourth one, where you're creating something together, where maybe you're starting a nonprofit together, you're starting an organization together. And this one takes time. And not every relationship gets to the 4th stage, and that's fine. Okay. But the thing to keep in mind is that trust as a lever, trust as the factor for building effective networks, grows across these stages. So trust is at the lowest at the contact stage because you don't know them. You don't know them. Okay. So let's break it down just a little bit. Before we break it down, I do want to keep something in mind for you, because most of us start networking with a vague feeling that this is something we should, and that's why networking doesn't necessarily work for them. Okay. And so if you don't have a goal for why you want to network, you do want to spend some time doing that, and you want that goal to be specific. So, for instance, A vague why is I want to break into climate. That could be anything. A vague why is I'm just trying to meet new people. A vague why is, I just need a job. Okay. But a specific why is I'm looking for two people who have made the exact move I'm looking to make in the next 6 months. I want to move from research into climate policy in the next 18 months. Be as specific, drill down your goals as much as possible. I'll give you about 60 seconds to think about your answer to this question here. What kind of person would be most useful for you to meet right now? It doesn't have to be a name. It doesn't have to be a company. It could be a name. It could be a company. But you can write it in the chat or you can think about it. Or if you had a journal with you, you can put it down. If a stranger asked you tonight, and to some of you, I'm a stranger, what kind of a person would be most useful for you to meet right now? If you're not clear on what kind of a person it is, by the way, that's how you know that your goal is not necessarily clear. Okay. So you might want to do that after today's session to think about, okay, so what is really important to me? What is really important to me to accomplish in the next 6 months, in the next 3 months, or in the next 1 year, 2 years? And then you reverse engineer to say, okay, so who might be the person that would move me one step closer to my goal? Megan says grad school professors. That's a very good start. Okay. That's a very good start. So, Megan, I can assume from that answer that you're looking into grad school. Maybe you're looking to work in higher education or you're looking to go into grad school by yourself. Okay. So I'll give it a moment for everyone else to finish thinking about this while I grab a sip of water and I will be right back. Okay, I see more comments in the chat. Rowan says, someone who works at the intersection of nature, culture, and communication with the general public. I love that. Authentic experts with systems, big picture thinking approach to addressing climate crisis. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so this, I shared about the four, and keep your thoughts coming in the chat. If I move forward in my slides, you can just keep sharing your thoughts. So you're going to go through 4 stages with whoever it is that you're looking to connect with. And of course, this goes without saying, you're doing your research. I'm assuming, just assuming here that we're all doing our research, we're all learning more about the kinds of people that we want to meet and who fits that profile as well. But the first stage you will go through with a potential grad school professor, Megan, will be your contact stage. And this is a very important stage because most networks, most relationships, they die at this stage. So your goal at this stage is to make sure that you're landing on each other's radar and then you're moving forward to the second stage. And here's how you make it work at this stage. Number one, you're leading with a real question. When you meet the person, not just, hi, how are you? What do you do? And so on and so forth. You could say something like, I noticed you mentioned something around, I don't know, wetlands restoration or something in your panel. Is that something you came up with, or did you move into that from something else? Just something specific. It makes you memorable. Okay. And then you can also name what stuck with you in about them or about their work. So when you're making a contact, you're not just showing up with, hey, I'm so and so, this is what I need from you. You're showing up genuinely. And this is how you're genuine. You're showing up genuinely and authentically about what is interesting about them. Okay. What is interesting about them? So say, for instance, you are, we're going to do a quick activity at the end of today's session. You are connecting with them and you're saying hello and you're chit-chatting and hopefully you're getting through the small talk. Part of what I do, by the way, also too, is I try to make notes after I make contact with someone. If you're like me and you tend to forget people's faces as well and people's names, I'm not very good with people's faces and names. So sometimes I'll literally ask to take a selfie. Like, is it okay? I know it's weird, but is it okay we take a selfie so I can save your face as a contact on my phone? So the next time I see you, it's not going to be weird. I'm going to remember who you are. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is at this stage, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Just get to know the person and get them to know you as well. But the bridge to moving to the next stage is ask permission to follow up. This is a tip that has worked for me so many times. And it does two things. Number one, it creates the expectation that there's going to be some sort of follow up at some point. Okay. And this is especially if you're meeting someone at an event, but if you're chatting with them online as well, it works. Okay. And secondly, it keeps you accountable. It keeps you accountable. I said that this is the stage where most networking dies, where it fails. Well, if you say, hey, I'd like to stay in touch with you. Is it okay if I follow up with you via email in the next 2 weeks? That then keeps you on the clock. And two, it creates the expectation. Of course, they're not going to say no. I mean, they might say no if they're going to be on vacation or, if it doesn't work for them. But most people would say, yeah, sure, absolutely. Here's my contact information. And then you actually follow up. You set a reminder. I think I have a note about that coming up. You set a reminder, not a mental note. You set a reminder literally on your calendar. Follow up with David. Okay. Follow up with Rowan. Follow up with Megan. Follow up with Percival. Yeah, but always ask that permission to follow up. Don't just assume that people want you in their life. Hopefully, you meet people who want you in their life, but it creates that opening by asking permission and saying, "Look, I would love to stay in touch with you. Set state your goals. I would love to stay in touch with you. I think you might be helpful for something I'm considering in my career. Is it okay if we stay in touch?" And don't promise something that you're not going to fulfill. So if you're not going to meet with them over coffee, don't promise coffee. I know it takes practice and discipline because that's sort of second nature to most of us now to say, oh, we should get coffee sometimes. I have to train myself to not default to that when I get nervous when meeting people. Okay, just say, is it okay to follow up? Follow up is vague. A follow up could look like anything, but make sure you ask that question. If you're with me, just give me a thumbs up and I'll keep going. But the second thing that I also want you to keep in mind is you want to increase your surface area. What do I mean? Look, 10% is a number I made up, okay? I put it on the slide. And I put it on the slide as just a figurative sort of an example for what I'm trying to say here. And what I'm trying to say is that not every contact you make is going to work out. That's a reality that we've all experienced. So if you meet 100 people, maybe 10% of those relationships, those contacts are going to work out. Okay, so it's perfectly okay if you go to an event or if you meet someone and the relationship just fizzles out. Yeah, sometimes they're not best for where you are in your life or in your career, or sometimes it's just not good timing, or maybe they're not the right person for you. I don't know. Other things happen. It's not like they're bad people. It just happens. But what that means, if it's that not every connection of contacts you make is going to work out, it makes you have to make a lot of contacts. Okay. You have to put yourself out there as much as possible. So that's what I mean by increasing your surface areas. They say it as increasing your surface area of luck. Okay. So if you're an introvert like me, you have to think about ways with through which you're going to sort of connect with more people so that you increase your chances of building genuine and real relationships outside of that. But connect is what happens after the introduction. This is where you start to develop mutual interests. You start to find out what is similar between the both of you and how do you build to this. You follow up fast. I mentioned that already. And then you name what is mutual. You can say, I'd like to, I kept thinking about what you said about funding the gap in local communities or something like that. And then the conversation keeps going. Or I'd like to follow up on what you said about getting into grad school, how you got into grad school. And then the third thing that I want to share with you that would also help you increase your surface area and connect with as many people as possible is actually use LinkedIn and social media. I know it's awkward for many of us, but you don't have to post all the time. I share on LinkedIn, not necessarily because I'm trying to, of course, I'm trying to build a following, but at the same time, too, I know that I can't connect with every single person I contact, but I can keep myself in their minds by posting what I'm up to online. So maybe once or twice a year. Well, I do it more frequently than that, once a quarter at least. I share, here's what I'm up to. for the people I'm connected with, because I'm not always going to get the opportunity to grab coffee with you. I'm not always going to get the opportunity to meet one on one with you. But if you read my post on Instagram about how my life is going, I'm intentional about what I post online because I want you to see it and I want you to know that I'm still looking for a job. Okay. I want you to see it and I want you to know that I'm still in the field looking for opportunities for funding and so on and so forth, even though we can't meet one on one. So build a public bridge. That's how you connect. And then a point I want to make also too with that is do it in your style. Look, we're all different, all right? We all have different networking styles. I don't have research on that, but I do think it's a real thing. We all network in different ways. And this is the key for some of you here today. You don't have to do it the way everyone does it. If you prefer to do deep conversations over small talks, that is so fine. What that would mean is that when you do your contact and you say, hey, I'd like to follow up with you, you really do follow up. You really do follow up and you schedule the time to meet with them. Now, if you prefer meeting over audio rather than video, that's also fine as well. If someone reaches out to you, you could say, hey, do you mind if we talk over phone call rather than video call? The point here is find a way to do what works for you. For some of us, we prefer email over texting, or we prefer texting over email. We prefer small group dinners. We prefer panels and moderations. We prefer walk and talks. We prefer written DMs. We prefer public posting. Public posting, though, I will encourage you to do it often. Again, connect with people online and then just post at least once a quarter, frequently, more frequently if you can, but at least once a quarter, just with an update of what's going on so that people can see and know how they'll help you. People do read posts, even if they're not like, commenting. They see it and they keep it in mind and, you're top of mind for them. But back to the point I'm trying to make, if you're introverted, if you're anxious, if you're not very good with all the things we've been taught to do in person, the eye contact, the shaking, with the firm handshake, and all the things that you've probably learned, look, it's okay. I'm giving you permission today to do it the way you want to do it, but make sure you do it well. And the key to doing it well is just vocalizing, hey, I do prefer if we meet over coffee rather than chat in this very noisy hall where everyone's trying to meet everyone. Why don't we meet in the next 2 weeks in a more quieter place and we can talk? That is what works for you. And that's how you do it authentically. Okay. If that's working for someone, if you're relating to what I'm sharing, let me know in the chat. Give me a +1 or you can give me a thumbs up. So trust your own instincts about how you connect best. And I have a couple of options here for you. And, I said give me a +1, but think about again, as we're going, you can also type it in the chat. How do you connect best? What works best for you? That's how you create that funnel for the people that you contact. Okay. So I'll share with you personally, I prefer written communication and I also don't necessarily like the big networking events. I do go to them, but I don't put that much pressure on myself to sort of meet everyone at those events. I've trained myself. I've learned how to connect with people, but I've also learned what works best for me. What works best for me is written follow-up. So I often will follow up with people on LinkedIn, by email, text messages, and so on and so forth as well. So think about what works best for you and then trust your intuition to design your own networking style. And then the third one is collaborate, where you start to actively work together. And collaboration usually shows up naturally, where you start to notice what's overlapping, so your needs and what they can offer. You know, while they might not, I'll give you an example here. I meet someone, the mentor I mentioned. Actually, this is a real life example. So I met this mentor who has this framework at an event. We connected. The person said, well, he said, look, schedule a meeting on my calendar if you want to follow up. I did schedule a meeting. That was the contact was at the event. The connect was at our meeting, our one-on-one, where we just chatted, where we shared. I shared some of my interests, and I was, sharing. I was honest also too about what I was looking to get out of a relationship, and then we moved on to collaborate. And collaborate looks like, he shared a flyer 2 weeks ago. And then I sent him back a screenshot and I said, look, your dates are wrong on this flyer. And then he goes, oh my goodness, thank you so much. This is so embarrassing for my company, blah, 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 blah. And I'm looking like, look, it's not a big deal. Like, you just shared it 10 minutes ago. But that is a touch point, a touch point. And now we work together, actually. He owns a coaching company that I work with as well. But the point here is that you could forward someone an article with a note that just says, I saw this and I thought of you. That's an opportunity to collaborate. You're depositing your trust into your trust account in a way that's real and manageable for your relationship. And this is also where you can think about making your ask. Now, it's very okay to make your ask in the first instance, all right? It's not awkward as well as at all, at least from what I found, especially in situations where people expect you to be asking for things too. So if you're at a networking event, it's not awkward at all to walk up to someone and say, "Hey, I read about you, or I heard what you said, and I think that relationship with you might be beneficial for me." And hopefully, in the long run, you're also providing benefits to that person in the relationship as well too. It's not awkward to slide into someone's DM on LinkedIn. Again, remember what I said about the surface area, though. It's not every DM you're going to get a response to. Okay, sometimes life is just life in, and people are just busy and they don't have the time. It's not always about you. Okay, if someone doesn't respond to your DM, look, it's not always about you. Sometimes it's just life, all right? But you may have to send 100 DMs to get, I don't know, 70. If you're trying to get to 70 people, you may have to send 10 to get seven, all right? So it's not awkward to show up at the first instance and look for collaboration. And the next thing also too um, um, is the co-create. But before we move into co-create, I do want to share something with you as regards building a relationship long term. Again, keep an eye out for whether trust is building in that relationship. Are you trusting the person more, and are they trusting you more? And so this is what it looks like across all four stages. Number one, they reach back out to you without being prompted. Number two, they share something difficult. This happens in our relationships, all of them. Number three, they make introductions for you. Number four, they ask you for help. I'll tell you something. People recommend the people they trust. And trust often comes from many different ways, okay? We trust people for many different reasons. But one thing that you want to keep doing from time to time when you do your review is my trust with this person building? Am I trusting them more? Are they trusting me more? And these are the ways with which you know if trust is building in any relationship, not just a relationship that you want to build on a professional level. But what does trust look like? I'm just going to breeze through this because it's something we already know as well. But really, trust is how do I how do I help this person see that I'm someone that they want to recommend, and that is showing your competence, okay? Showing that you have the skills for the job, showing that you have whatever the requirements is, showing that you have the interest, showing that your values align, and all those things happen through conversations. Stephen M. R. Covey has 13 behaviors of a high trust leader. So if there's a relationship in mind that you want to build with someone and you're thinking, I might be better off building trust with this person, definitely spend some time with this resource. It's online. There's a PDF that's floating around online. But the big one here: talk straight, demonstrate respect, deliver results, get better, clarify expectations, extend trust is also a big one here. Keep your commitments, listen first. But the point is not all the 13 things here. The point is you thinking about when I'm building connections with someone, when I'm networking with someone, it really is about building trust with that person. It really is about me trusting that person, trusting them enough that they will be supportive of my ambition or my goals or my career dreams. And then also building opportunities for them to trust me more. And the way you do that as well is you're creating those connection points like posting online, sending them an article, sending them a text and saying, hey, I thought of you. I hope you're doing okay. Okay. That's how you're building trust through those four themes. All right. So the last one here as we wrap up is the co-create stage where, the two of you or the four of you are building something together. it doesn't, not all relationships have to get to the co-create stage. In fact, sometimes it's okay also too if your relationships have, highs and lows, moments where you're deeply connected with someone and then you go a couple months and there's not much connection between the both of you. But this is just something to keep in mind. Again, as with the framework, contact, connect, collaborate, and then co-create. So I've had it also happen in my own relationships as well, where I literally met someone on a WhatsApp group chat like almost 10 years ago. And then we went through our stages of connection, and I did all the things that I'm sharing with you today. And eventually I got a grant from my school at the time to travel back. The person was actually based in Nigeria. So I traveled back to Nigeria to the community to host a project for the community. And this was with someone I'd not seen them before. My first time seeing them would be the first time I made the trip to Nigeria. But I did go through that process of building relationships with them through just some random WhatsApp group. I joined a WhatsApp group, and some way, somehow we started talking, and we found that we had mutual interests. And then we co-created this new innovation challenge in the community. It happens, but sometimes it doesn't. But that's just something for you to keep in mind as well. All right. So trust again, like I've mentioned, and I've given you all the behaviors that build trust as well too. But this is just a summary of everything that I've shared so far. Take action. Don't just collect contact information. Follow up with people. Promise to follow up and then follow up with people. Number two, be yourself on purpose. Authenticity doesn't necessarily mean you have to show everything 100% at the very first instance, but try to think about what comes naturally to you and then give yourself permission to do what comes naturally to you. If you find also too that there's a context where you're not able to be your most authentic self, maybe that context is not right for you. Maybe that relationship is not right for you at this time. Maybe you need to give a relationship a little bit more time. But it rarely happens. However, when we're meeting people the first time, at least especially in this field, most of the people that I've met have really been great people to meet. But bring the best parts of yourself that you're willing to bring in that moment as well. Okay, that's how you build trust with people and grow your relationship. And of course, mutual value. So it's not also about what you can get out of the relationship. Think about what you can give as well. And giving doesn't necessarily mean a job or a referral. It could just literally mean just the check-ins. That's something you're giving to people. Like, hey, we met at XYZ event 2 years ago, but I hope you're doing okay. Just wanted to say hi and check in on you. The best is also if you remember details about their lives that they share. People like to talk about themselves if you give them the chance to. And if they go on talking about their family members, I tend to write these things down from time to time, birthdays and things like that. Again, those are ways I share value. And then, of course, I mentioned this in passing, just briefly. Respect your own capacity and also respect their own boundaries as well. No, not now is also fine. Again, don't put too much pressure on yourself. If you don't get a response from someone, on LinkedIn, it's fine. You can try again in the next couple of weeks. If you're not getting a response, remember what I said. It's not always about you. Maybe they're not in a good place. Maybe they're dealing with a loss. Maybe they just lost their job and they've not yet updated their LinkedIn. But boundaries are also important for you as well. If you're starting to feel overwhelmed with the whole process, maybe you need to take a step back and then try again next week. Okay. All right. And then the last thing I'll share with you, well, the last big idea here is that you need to track your progress, have a personal CRM. I call them personal CRMs of some sort. CRMs are, I think they're customer relationship management systems like the Salesforce and things like that that companies use to manage their customer database. If you can create one for yourself, that would be fantastic. I've been looking for an app that would help me remember birthdays and remember people I need to follow up with every 6 months and every year and so on and so forth. I haven't found one. So I did build something on Notion that hasn't really worked well, but it's working. At some point I tried Excel and, anyways, if you create an app that helps as a personal CRM, please just DM me, send me the app. I just see the app to remind me of birthdays and then remind me of when I need to follow up with someone. I was looking to do something online. But anyways, let me stop talking about my needs. Long story short, figure out a way to track your progress, figure out a way to track your relationships. It could also be your Instagram contact list. It could be your phone contact list. It could be your LinkedIn contact list that you review from time to time. Olivia loves Notion. Olivia, we need to talk. I don't know what kind of relationship you got going with Notion, but I do not. I'm struggling. Okay, I'm still getting myself up to Notion. So let me put it that way. David is going to try to build one in Airtable. I did try Airtable too. It just didn't work. Um, no, I thought about Airtable, but I got into Airtable and I was like, I tried Salesforce. Okay, I created an account on Salesforce and I've tried things, but right now what's working for me is my Notion. And Notion also has some templates that people have built to. Long story short, find a way to track your my Notion and my calendar, I should say. Find a way to track your relationships. Okay. I usually use my calendar to actually make notes of people's birthdays. And that's a reminder for me that at least once a year, you're going to be hearing from me, even if it's just a happy birthday. There's some people a tech chat window is literally just happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. And then they become a weak connection. Remember what I said about weak connections in the beginning, because most of these jobs also too that I told you I've gotten through referrals actually came from my weak connections, people I met briefly, and then I reached out to and said, "Hey, look, I'm in this position. I'm hoping you can help me." And then they turned out to be very helpful versus my actual friends. And you know what? People are often more willing to help than we give them credit for. Okay, people are often more willing to help than we give them credit for as well too. So go into this whole process with that sort of positive mindset, if you will. I'm a coach, so I have to talk about mindset one way or the other, a growth mindset as well. But sort of, what's that word? An abundance mindset. That's what I'm looking for. An abundance mindset that you will find someone to help you. Whoever is for you is going to be for you. Whoever is not for you is not for you, and it's not personal, and that's okay. Okay. But you will find the people that are for you, that would support you, that would want to champion your cause, that would want to help you, move forward in your career, that would want to help you get the grad school application going, that would want to donate to your nonprofit. They are out there. Okay, don't go in with a scarcity mindset, going with the mindset that you will find those people. Now, you may need to connect with 10 people for 5 to work out. You may need to do that work. And remember, you're doing it the way that works for you, but it does work out eventually. Now, you wouldn't know if it's working out if you're not tracking it, right? And so you need to create your own system for tracking your relationships. You don't want to forget the important people. You don't want to forget to say thank you to people. Create your own system for tracking your own relationship. And I have here 2 rules: update within 24 hours of a conversation, and then set a calendar reminder, for the next such. It really is up to you, honestly. Build a system around that. So this is a callback, a summary. Networking is a slow, steady process of building trust through those 4 stages I talked about: the contact with authenticity, the connect, the collaborate, the co-create. We don't always get to co-create, but we get to collaborate. And these things can also happen at the same time. They don't often, happen in sequence, like I put it out there. But at each stage, you can sort of just measure where your trust is. So the more you're building trust with someone, the more the easier it is for you to go through each of these stages. Okay. All right. So let's do our action plan. Who is one person you would reach out to in the next 7 days, and what stage will you move them toward? So I have contact, connect, collaborate, and co-create, and I've shared all the ways with which you can build trust and build it with authenticity. So if you want to share in the chat, you may do that. A commitment you say out loud is something you're more likely to do than one you keep for yourself. So type in the chat, who is one person you reach out to in the next 7 days? It could be a name that's coming to mind of a weak connection, or maybe your own action item is research grad school professors that may be interested in supporting me, and then contact with them, send a cold DM. I think that's Megan. All right. Yes. Okay. So, David, thank you for that reminder. Most of our speakers have their LinkedIn profile linked in the speaker section of the Zoom webinars. Fantastic. Megan, love it. Reach out to a professor I worked with at a past summer internship and I would collaborate with them. You see, and it's okay. They're a weak connection at this point, but it's okay. Again, Megan, remember, people are more likely to help you than not. People are more willing to help than we often give them credit for. And sometimes maybe the opportunity is not just there, but you also want to keep making those touch points here so that when the opportunity does come up, you're top of mind for them. Olivia says, I reach out to my ecology professor. We agreed to meet again after the spring break, but it hasn't happened. Olivia, let me tell you something. And I learned this from a professor actually. It's they don't mind if you reach out after 2 years or something, especially the good ones. Okay. So if you promise to do something and it didn't work out, it's not awkward if you go back and just name the awkwardness. Look, I know it's awkward reaching out after we said we're going to meet. That's the way to deal with awkwardness, or at least I deal with awkwardness. I know it's kind of awkward, but can we do it again? Can we try again? Okay. And so, Olivia, reach out. Just reach out. What's the worst they can say? No. Okay, and then you move on. I know the no usually hurts because I've heard a couple no's in my career, but you tend to get over it. Isa says, reach out to a connection I made who has similar career goals as me and checking on where I love that. Checking on where they are right now. Isa, if you're in the moment, if you have the energy to share something, maybe you have something to offer. You may also offer to help. Like, is there anything I can help? Again, only if you have the capacity and the energy. You can also offer, is there anything I can help with in this moment in your career? Remember, it's also not just about what you have to gain, but also what you have to offer. Okay, so remember I told you that I typically will ask, what are your top three things? One thing is good, but three is okay. So write the things that you're also going to keep in mind. Some of you have written that down, so maybe we should make this a callback. So get specific about your goals. If you're not clear about your networking goals, get specific. Okay, it's okay if it's not clear right now. Maybe you want to speak with a mentor. Maybe you want to reach out to a friend. Maybe you want to reach out to I don't know, an advisor or coach or something. Just help me get clear on my goals so I can figure out who I need to meet, and then do the math. Okay, so figure out how many people you might need to stay in touch with, or how many times you might need to do your networking so that you can get at least some results. And then use your style. Don't apologize for not doing networking the way everyone does it. This is actually how you make it sustainable. Track everything, do it your way. Okay. And if you build a personal CRM that works, DM me. I will pay for your app. Okay. Move them up. Okay. So from time to time, review your personal CRM, review your spreadsheets. And if a name comes to mind randomly in the middle of the day, take it down. um, Write a note, maybe add a note to your calendar, just a reminder to reach out, or maybe reach out to them immediately. But think about ways to consistently build trust with your contacts. And then finally, send the message, send it tonight. Send it tonight. So all of you, Megan, Olivia, and Isa, and all of you, Isa, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So please correct me in the chat if I'm not. Send it tonight. All right. Send it tonight. Draft it and send it tonight. I remember what I said. Set a reminder to follow up, because the people who built the career you want built the trust first. And trust is the backbone of any relationship. So if you want to, I'll make this an optional activity. Share who you are, what you have to offer, and who you would like to connect with in the chat. I was hoping to create this as a space as well for us to connect with each other. So if you would like to interact, Olivia, if you'd like to follow up with Persephone, please tell me if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Also, too, definitely do that in the chat if she's still, or if they rather are still on the call. Yes, David has gotten us started. So feel free to add people on LinkedIn. I think my LinkedIn is on the event notification as well too. So follow up with me on LinkedIn, and I will look forward to seeing you on LinkedIn. Now, thank you so very much for this time. I actually wrote a blog about this, the contact, connect, create, collaborate, and all of that. It's on Substack. So if you want to refer back to it, I think just search me on Substack. You'll be able to find it. Or again, my LinkedIn is always open, Instagram as well. I'm happy to connect with everyone on today's call and be of help or support or be a resource to you in however way possible that I can, when I can. All right. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. David, thank you so much for inviting me to this session. I really had a good time. And Megan and everyone on the call, Tiffany, Olivia, it was great to meet with you and everyone whose names that I probably did not get correctly. Please forgive me. I look forward to possibly meeting with you at another event. Over to you, David.
Ife, thank you so much for this session. It was really fantastic. And I really it hits really in particular because when I saw your presentation 2 years ago or last year at DC's Climate Week, I
Yes.
said, this is exactly what we need for EcoCareers, and you really delivered. So thank you so much. And I'm glad I was able to collaborate, move to collaborate, and even a
I
little bit into
know.
co-creation for this. But we'll co-create on a personal CRM. It was so great. Thank you so much
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
for joining us this year, and thank you to all of the participants for your active participation, for joining in the chat. And that is the closing for EcoCareers 2026. Thank you all so much. These recordings will automatically be uploaded into the Zoom platform. So you already have access to almost all of the recordings already, and you'll be able to access this one as soon as Zoom processes it and posts it. So thank you all. Please keep in touch. You have my LinkedIn. You have our Eco Leaders contact information in the conference program. Once again, thank you. And that's it. Take care, everyone.